bet the Blue Jays are happy to be home. Tony Peña's the first base coach for Joe Girardi, and the Yankees are red hot. They've won 6 straight on the road. They've won 10 of their last 12, 13 of their last 16 after a 3-6 start. And the Blue Jays were part of that slow start as they took 2 out of 3 against New York in the opening series.
Well, the Blue Jays got off to a nice start this season, winning both of those series at New York and then at Baltimore, but they need to turn it up a notch after a rough road trip.
Well, the Yankees are really starting to swing the bats well. Top of the order is Jacoby Ellsbury. He's got a 6-game hit streak, and look at those gaudy numbers. 14 for 26, an OPS of 1.138. Then down in that third spot in the batting order, Alex Rodriguez hit a career home run number 660 on Friday night in Boston. He's got 57 career home runs against the Blue Jays. That's the most all time, and he has hit very well in this ballpark.
All right, Dickey making his 6th start of the season. His first start back on April 8th at New York. He allowed just 1 run on 4 hits over 6 1/3 innings. He left that ball game with a 2-1 lead, but the bullpen surrendered a few runs in the 8th. That was an eventual Yankees 4-3 victory. Last time out for Dickey was at Boston. He took the loss despite going 7 innings. He gave up 4 earned runs.
Defensively, a little bit different look in the outfield. No Jose Bautista, as he's still plagued by that shoulder problem. Danny Valencia, Kevin Pillar, and Ezekiel Carrera from left to right in the outfield. The infield, Donaldson and Goins on the left side of the diamond, Travis and Encarnacion on the right side, and Josh Torrey catching for the 3rd time this season has R.A. Dickey tonight.
Ezekiel Carrera making his 6th start in right field in his career. He's been predominantly a center fielder, but he's sliding over. Of course, with Kevin Pillar doing what he's doing in center field and that injury to Jose Bautista. Bautista hoping to begin throwing this week with that ailing right shoulder.
Well, Bautista is one of the best right fielders in all of baseball, and it's tough to lose his defense out there in right, but he's been swinging a potent bat as the DH. R.A. Dickey has pitched very well against this Yankee ball club right here in this ballpark for his career. As a Blue Jay in this ballpark against New York, he's 3-0 with a 0.45 earned run average. We mentioned Jacoby Ellsbury is hot. He had a 4-for-4 game last night in Boston. That's 2nd time he's had a 4-for-4 game with 2 steals in his career. Dickey is set. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. It is in there for a strike, and we are underway. Ellsbury batting .351 for the season. It's his 2nd year with the Yankees, signing as a free agent. There's a little looping drive to the shortstop. Goins makes the catch, 1 down. Well, we have talked about all of the changes, and of course the Blue Jays added 2 more relief pitchers to their bullpen today. Steve Delabar and Chad Jenkins are back, but biggest thing for the Blue Jays bullpen would be a nice 8-inning start from R.A. Dickey.
It all starts on the mound, and the starters have been absolutely struggling right 1 through 5 in this rotation. Dickey could really help this club out by going at least 7 tonight.
This is Brett Gardner. Gardner batting .320. Yankees outfield is off to a great start. Inside, it's 2-0. Yankees outfielders have combined to hit .311, 2nd highest in the major leagues behind the Baltimore Orioles. There's a fastball ripped to right. Carrera, no problem at all. 2 down. So Alex Rodriguez has 6 home runs for the season, and he has moved up the all-time home run leaderboard. Of course, Barry Bonds with 762 home runs. He passed the great Hank Aaron at 755, and 714, that's always etched in your mind as Babe Ruth's number. And then Willie Mays and Alex Rodriguez currently tied for 4th with 660 career home runs. Rodriguez hit that home run as a pinch hitter Friday night in Boston against Junichi Tozawa.
Still receiving mixed reactions around Major League ballparks.
Ground ball in the hole. Goins rights himself. Long throw in time. Took R.A. Dickey just 7 pitches to set down the Yankees in order. When we come back, it will be the red hot Devin Travis. He had his first career grand slam Sunday in Cleveland. Travis will start things off when we come back. On the right track, they are 2 games under 500 at 12-14. The offense has been terrific, scoring a lot of runs. They've scored more runs than anybody in baseball. Top of the order is Travis Donaldson Bautista and then Edwin Encarnacion. This year against the Yankees, he's 5 for 12 with a couple of home runs. He's driven in 3, and then right behind him in that 5th spot in the lineup, Kevin Pillar. Over his last 7 games, he's been swinging a red-hot bat. 11 hits, 6 of those hits are extra base hits. And they're glad to be back home and trying to get things turned around against the Yankees.
Chase Whitley making his 2nd start of the season. He was just recalled from AAA last week to take the spot of Masahiro Tanaka in that Yankees rotation.
One start, he had a good outing. He is set to throw a first pitch fastball, and you can see J.R. Murphy already, the catcher, trying to get Whitley to speed it up a little bit. Great start to the season for Travis. Breaking ball, strike 2. Devin Travis hit the grand slam in the 4th inning of yesterday's game. It was a 6-run 4th inning for the Blue Jays. There's that splitter, and Travis strikes out on 3 pitches. Take a look at the defense behind Whitley. They've got a terrific outfit, a lot of speed in the outfit. All 3 of these guys have played center field at one time or another. Brett Gardner, Jacoby Ellsbury, and Carlos Beltran. On the infield, Chase Headley's at 3rd, Didi Gregorius at shortstop, Stephen Drew at 2nd. Garrett Jones starts tonight. Mark Teixeira, normally the first baseman, not in the lineup. John Ryan Murphy is the catcher for Chase Whitley.
Garrett Jones gets his 2nd start at first base this season. Mark Teixeira with the night off. The Red Sox were in Boston last night, had a game go past midnight, so they didn't fly into Toronto till quite late.
This is Josh Donaldson. Donaldson batting .307 for the season. Breaking ball is inside. Donaldson has an interesting routine during batting practice. He will put counts in his mind and then play out that particular pitch according to the counts he might have during the ball game. He would get to 2-0 in batting practice and say, okay, it's 2-0, and then he'd shoot for the upper deck, and more often than not he did.
And he will look for a pitch middle in those situations. Other times we've seen Josh go the other way, trying to go against that shift. We see 2nd baseman Stephen Drew shading the middle right now.
He had a big cut. That ball is bounced in front of the mound to the pitcher. Donaldson's retired.
Chase Whitley will use 3 pitches, fastball, slider, and changeup. He'll use all 3. He'll be around 90 miles per hour, touching 91. He'll use all three. He has struggled against left-handers. That's been the big thing for Whitley. So look for him to really work on that split change to try to attack them, but it has not been good so far. He's been a reliever predominantly in his career. That's why we see him pitching out of the stretch tonight.
His delivery out of the windup is a bit like Chris Tillman of the Orioles. They just kind of angle their body and minimize all of that extra movement.
He is essentially pitching from the stretch. You'd think there's runners on base right now, but as you said, like Tillman does the same thing. Very unorthodox, but a lot of times pitchers will try to limit the movement.
Breaking ball. Bautista thought it might have been outside. Ball and a strike to Bautista. His numbers are starting to climb. He's up over 200. But he's doing some damage. 5 homers and 17 ribbies. Look out inside. Whitley got a couple of pitches on the borderline. Now Drew has straightened up with 2 strikes at second. Bautista called out on strikes. A couple of strikeouts in the first for Chase Whitley. We've played an inning. Still no score.
Brooke Jacoby, 14 games without pay for actions against umpires in a game in Boston. The Blue Jays say they will appeal that suspension, but he will not allowed to be in the dugout tonight. And if you saw those 3 pitches that struck out Jose Bautista in the bottom of the first inning, guys, that is part of the problem, and that is what Brooke Jacoby was arguing, because Jose has had a real tough time in getting those outside pitches called balls when he thinks they should be.
Barry, he's had a lot of calls go against him, and unfortunately, Brooke Jacoby is suspended. This ball is hit to center. Nice job by Kevin Pillar. Beltran hit that ball a ton. It may have been knuckling all the way out to center field, but Pillar is an exceptional defender, and he made a good play.
Great first step. Watch Kevin Pillar in center field right now from behind home plate. That first step to the gap, but watch the baseball. It's almost like he took a right turn. It just sailed on Kevin, but he stayed with it. We've seen him play some outstanding outfield this year so far for the Blue Jays.
He's a natural center fielder. We have seen him play great in left and in center. This is Stephen Drew. He goes after the first pitch. Drew's batting average at 155, but he has hit some home runs. He is making the transition to second base. You know, we talk all about the Blue Jays starting pitching and how they have struggled this season. First pitch strikes have been a problem for them as a unit. That's foul back into the seats. The American League average for first pitch strikes is 60.5%. Only Drew Hutchison and Mark Burley have thrown strikes above the average, and just barely. Burley 60.6, Hutchison 62.3, but The other 3 starters in the rotation, including Norris, who's now been dispatched, all under the league average in first pitch strikes. Ground ball. Devin Travis comes and takes a short hop. Nice play by Travis. Well, it all begins and ends with your starting pitching, and you look at the rotation and their problems over their last 23 starts. An ERA over 6, a WHIP. Now that is walks and hits per innings pitched. You're starting with about a runner and a 3/4 every inning, and that's a lot of base runners. You saw Marco Estrada on the bench. He will start tomorrow night against New York.
It's just an uphill battle for those pitchers that cannot work ahead too, getting back to that strike one.
Just over Travis as Chase Headley has a 2-out base hit. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Hanley Ramirez having a terrific season for Boston, and that would be a big loss to them. Of course, he's a natural shortstop, just playing in his first season as a left fielder. This is Garrett Jones, takes a first pitch strike from Dickey. Joe mentioned that Mark Teixeira is not at first base tonight as the Yankees played that late game, the Sunday night ESPN game at Fenway Park, and good opportunity to give some of the regulars a little night off. Brian McCann, the catcher, is also getting the first part of this ball game off. McCann starting to feel a little more comfortable with the Yankees. This is his second season.
We see that so often when a player signs as a free agent with a team. That first year, you're trying to impress, you're trying to make that team, let them know that you're worthy of the contract that you just signed. And Brian McCann had some struggles last year, but certainly fitting in a little bit more this year, much more comfortable playing for the Yankees.
Russell Martin's going through the same thing. This ball is up the middle. Goins will glove it, throw from his knees. What a play! Oh my! Ryan Goins saves a hit for R.A. Dickey. He was on the first base side of second in the outfield. Watch the range of Goins. He gets to it, and then from his knees throws a strike to first to end the inning. Great defense again for the Blue Jays.
Presented by the 2015 Honda CR-V, Motor Trend's 2015 Sport Utility of the Year.
R.A. Dickey opening up this 6-game homestand for the Blue Jays. 3 against New York, 3 against the Red Sox. Edwin Encarnacion will lead things off. Takes a strike from Chase Whitley. Had one against the Yankees this season has gone 5 for 12. He's hit a couple of home runs against New York. That came in the season opening series at Yankee Stadium. Up the middle, that may have been off the bat. Stephen Drew comes across the bag and makes the play. The Yankees got some bad news with Masahiro Tanaka, their starting pitcher, going on the disabled list, but they've been able to overcome the loss of Tanaka and been impressive.
Well, they continue to pitch, and when you really look at that bullpen, they've been absolutely outstanding. But to be able to do it, CC Sabathia looks like he's on the backside, downside of his career. Masahiro Tanaka with the injury. Others are stepping up. It could be a very interesting season. If the Yankees can continue to pitch like this, they're going to be tough in the East.
We'll see Michael Pineda and CC Sabathia in this series. Pineda will go tomorrow night against Marco Estrada. CC Sabathia against Mark Burley. Pineda and Sabathia, probably the opposite ends of their careers, both effective. This is Kevin Pillar. Boy, he has really played well in every aspect of his game. Off the end of the bat. Another ball cued off the end of the bat. 2 quick outs, 5 straight, retired by Chase Whitley. This is Whitley's second start here at Rogers Center. He started last June against Marcus Stroman, and the Blue Jays abused him. He went 3 1/3, gave up 11 hits and 8 runs, including a 6-run second inning. So he is off to a much better start here tonight.
And this is the type of pitcher that maybe once through the lineup, these Blue Jays hitters will get a feel for him. We saw that in Cleveland last week. TJ House, the left-hander, real soft-throwing lefty, and he kind of mowed down the lineup first time through, but then the hitters began to make an adjustment. We'll see if they can do that with Whitley here tonight.
Josh Thole, the catcher, behind 0-2. TJ House retired 9 of the first 10 Blue Jays to bat, and then the Jays got 5 straight base runners on. Thole turns on an inside pitch, but it's foul.
And that's why it's so difficult as a starting pitcher. It's the toughest job in baseball. You have got to have good stuff. If you don't have good quality stuff, 2 or 3 pitches, the next time through the lineup, then the third time, and especially if you're going deep into a ball game, the fourth, very difficult against big league hitters who know how to make adjustments.
Thole hooks it into right field. That's going to drop in front of Beltran. That ball hung up a long time. I thought Beltran had a shot at making a play out if he comes in, but that's the first base runner for the Blue Jays.
You may see that by Carlos Beltran earlier in his career. It's a changeup. See that grip by Whitley. This ball's diving away on Thole, but he's able to get around it and stay through it just enough to drop in front of Beltran in right field.
It's the first hit of the season for Josh Thole. It comes with 2 outs. Now he's saying, I got a batting average now.
Get that baseball.
He's only playing in his 3rd game, having started out the season in AAA Buffalo. This is Danny Valencia. Valencia is in left field tonight. Valencia making his 3rd start in left field. Danny worked hard in the spring to get comfortable out in the outfield. He's a natural 3rd baseman. Two outs.
Valencia swinging the bat very well early in the season, but just has not gotten a lot of playing time. Blue Jays have not faced a lot of left-handers, so he gets the odd start against the righties. Of course, Michael Saunders, we saw him hobbling a little bit yesterday in Cleveland, so Valencia gets another opportunity here tonight.
That's fouled off Valencia's foot. Blue Jays have faces 4 lefties. And Valencia's had an impact. They're 3-1 against left-handers, and along with Russell Martin and Josh Donaldson, big right-handed bats, have improved their numbers against lefties.
Danny has been labeled a platoon-type player in his career because he's hammered left-handed pitching but has not had the same success against right-handers. It's not a label that he likes, but he knows it. Until he starts hitting right-handed pitching, that's going to be the way it is. But he's getting an opportunity tonight from manager John Gibbons to face Whitley.
Danny Valencia is now 30 years old. He's from Miami. He has started his career with the Minnesota Twins. Played parts of 3 seasons with Minnesota. Then he went to Boston in the 2012 season. He's bounced around a little bit. Blue Jays got Danny Valencia in a trade with the Kansas City Royals last July. Here's a 2-1 pitch, 2 outs. Tough pitch right down at the bottom of the zone. That's not the one you want to swing at on a 2-1 count.
Chase Whitley is not going to light up the radar gun. If there's scouts in the stands, they're not going to be overly impressed, but he is just going to be a command guy, try to stay at the bottom of the zone, get some good movement on that 2-seam fastball, mix in the slider and change. If he misses the location, this is when the Blue Jays hitters are going to have to jump on him.
It's a high fly ball to shallow left field. The shortstop is out. He gets called off by Brett Gardner, the left fielder. Valencia's retired. No runs on a hit. The Blue Jays leave 1. We'll head to the 3rd. Still a scoreless game.
The Red Sox at 1:07 p.m. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Josh Donaldson white replica jersey. Go to BlueJays.com for more details. Guys, I got to mark that down on my calendar. Sunday, Mother's Day. Please pick up a card and flowers. Got it.
And dinner. Come on, Barry.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about dinner, too.
Open up the wallet. Let's go. Josh Donaldson, he's a popular guy already here in Toronto, and why not? He's a guy that's always in the hunt for an MVP award. R.A. Dickey has had a good start to this game. He's allowed just 1 hit. J.R. Murphy, the catcher, has played 9 games. He's 5 for 19. That's a .263 average. Ball on his strike. Dickey's got a good knuckler early on.
Good thing, and for R.A., it's very important for him to use his bottom half, and he is much like a traditional pitcher. I asked Pete Walker, as a pitching coach, how do you work with a knuckleballer when they don't throw the traditional style? And he talked about how important it is for them to use his bottom half as well. R.A. will get out into those ruts where he's not using his legs, and now he's using more upper body, jumping out with the front side. That's when he gets underneath the baseball, and that's when you see those floaters that stay up in the zone and don't move as much. Use that bottom half to really drive to the plate and get on top of that knuckleball.
And another drive to center. Pilar stays with it. 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Yeah, he should have at least waited an extra day before Kershaw started to take his first day at the helm of the Brewers, but Ron Renicky was let go on Sunday after the ball game, and ironically it was after a win. This is Didi Gregorius, the shortstop, just upstairs.
Dickey will talk about traditional pitchers that when the ball leaves their hand, they pretty well know if it feels good. They know that it's going to be good out of their hand, whereas with him, he says a ball can feel great out of his hand, but by the time it gets to home plate, it can take a turn left, right, up, down, and it's really an uncontrollable, unpredictable pitch at times.
That fastball missed outside. It's 3-0. That's why there are so few knuckleball pitchers. It's a hard pitch to master. You have to be in a unique situation like Dickey. He was a former #1 pick, and as a conventional pitcher, things weren't going so well. So in Texas, while he was with the Rangers, they talked to him about making the conversion. And then once you commit to a player, you've got to be patient and say, okay, this is going to be a process now. And Dickey was able to buy into it. And it wasn't really until he hit Seattle and then Minnesota where he really started to get a feel for it. And then, of course, took it to the Mets and became a Cy Young Award winner. 3-2 on the ground. Goins will throw across the diamond in time. 2 down. R.A. Dickey trying to get the Blue Jays off on the right foot on this homestand. He has good numbers against the Yanks over his last 5 starts.
Well, he does, and we talked about it in the open. Maybe he played for the Mets, the crosstown rivals, where he won his Cy Young. I think he just really amps himself up and gets ready for any matchup against the New York Yankees, and he's showing it again here early this evening.
He's really been tough here at Rogers Center. He's gone 3-0 with a 0.45 earned run average at Rogers Center, and this is a hitter's ballpark. Boy, that's a good knuckleball right there.
And nice job by Josh Tolley. He does an outstanding job back there. Russell Martin did it early in the season. He did an admirable job, but R.A. will be the first one to tell you Josh Tolley is the best knuckleball catcher he's had.
When R.A. first came to the Blue Jays, they had a catcher named Henry Blanco, who also caught R.A. in New York for a while, and he came, and Henry just didn't get it going, didn't do anything with the bat. Tolley has been with him since his Cy Young year with the Mets in 2012. R.A. Dickey's a Gold Glover, and that shows you why. Quick reactions, he becomes an extra infielder, and he takes a hit away from Brooke Jacoby. Nobody up the middle behind Dickey. He's got to make the play himself.
Miss a game. Subscribe today to sportsnet.ca/set reminder or by tweeting #schedule to @sportsnet. Buck?
Thank you, Barry. Great opportunity to make sure you follow the Blue Jays no matter where they are. Good to be home. Blue Jays limped off the road. They went 3-7 on their most recent road trip. Ryan Goins, the shortstop, in the 8th spot. That's the first pitch breaking ball from Chase Whitley. Blue Jays have one hit. That was a 2-out single by Josh Tolle in the second. There's a lot of movement in that off-speed pitch.
Good changeup by Whitley right there, and you can see coming out of his hand, it looks like a fastball. That's why the changeup's such a great secondary pitch. Got rotation like a fastball, enters the hitting zone and just dives down.
Tried it again. It was off the plate. 1-2. Pulled on the ground, and Garrett Jones will flip to Whitley, covering the bag. One down.
The championship-winning Honda CRF 450R for those who dare to ride red.
Blue Jay pitchers would love to get things turned around a little bit. To a man, they all feel like there's a big room for improvement. This is Ezekiel Carrera. He bunts it up the first base line. Whitley off the mound, quickly throws it away. Carrera's headed for second. Ball still bouncing around. Now he's going to go to third. He hesitated for a minute, and Gregorius tipped it. The ball looked like it was right on line to the third baseman. But Gregorius, the shortstop, as the cutoff man, jumped up, got a glove on it, and slowed it down.
Well, I'm not sure why Gregorius would touch that, but Ezekiel Carrera just drops an absolutely perfect bunt down on this new Rogers Center carpet. This is his first game, but he was out there early in batting practice, checking the speed of it. He's heard from his teammates how slow it is, but you put a good bunt down and force a pitcher to make a rush throw. That's what's going to happen. It ends up down the right field line. You see Ezekiel had a little hesitation there, diving in safely under the direction of third base coach Luis Rivera. Chase Whitley says, "What am I thinking?"
That'll be a bunt base hit and an error on the pitcher, so Carrera ends up at third base. This is Devin Travis, the leadoff man, with a chance to put the Blue Jays on the board. Infield is back. Travis has 23 RBIs. He leads the team in that department. He leads the team in average home runs and RBIs. It's a unique distinction that hasn't happened very much, and obviously for the course of the season it's a rarity, but he's off to a great start. Inside pitch. Travis had a great month of April, his first in the major leagues, and because of that he was named the American League Rookie of the Month.
He has such a short swing, very little bit of a stride, short to the baseball with his hands, does not get fooled very often. He sees the ball very well because of that very little movement.
Travis becomes the 6th Blue Jay player to win the American League Player of the Month award. And the most recent was Scott Richmond in 2009 when he went 3-0 in April with a .270 earned run average. There have actually been 2 rookies that have won the award twice, Player of the Month. Fouls that ball off. Josh Phelps in 2002 won the American League Rookie of the Month award in August and September. And in 2005, Gustavo Chacin, left-handed pitcher, won in April and then again in July.
This is a situational hitting that they work on every day in batting practice. See the middle infielder's back. A ground ball in the middle of the infield scores a run right here. That's what Travis is thinking. Stay in the middle of the field.
And he strikes out. That has been once his Achilles heel, that breaking ball down and away. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Boy, they're roughing up Clay Buchholz early. Through an inning and 2/3, he's been charged with 4 earned runs on 5 hits. And how about Joey Butler? Tampa Bay has just got that magic going, don't they?
Somebody gets hurt, just bring another one up. The train just keeps moving.
This is Josh Donaldson trying to pick up Devin Travis, who struck out. Donaldson 5 for 14 this season with runners in scoring position. He has driven in 9. Carrera just over his left shoulder, 90 feet away. Bouncing ball to third. Chase Headley in time. The air doesn't hurt Whitley. He made an error, but he pitches out of it. We'll go to the 4th.
I've noticed a lot of not so great looking facial hair on the New York Yankee players tonight. You see Brett Gardner with the mustache and a few more in the dugout. Well, it was Brett Gardner that actually started this a couple of weeks ago when they were in Tampa and things weren't going well. He decided to grow the mustache. The team ended up going on a 13-3 run, and so other members of the team said, yeah, you know what, this is a good idea, let's grow mustaches. And you know, the Yankees do have a no facial hair policy, but that is below the lips, so the mustaches are okay. But Joe, I think you can attest that not one of these Yankee players has a mustache anywhere close to the one that Mr. Buck Martinez had back in the 70s and 80s.
That was a long time ago there, Barry. And the Yankees, of course, in the 70s had Thurman Munson and Goose Gossage and
all bushy.
Ed Figueroa. They all had bushy mustaches. These are grown men who work at a game they love, and they're still superstitious.
They're playing like kids right now, and you do something silly like that, and what happens? You rattle off some wins, and now it's a big team bonding event.
And nobody better shave. You can see they're just starting out. When I first saw them today, I thought they all had just forgotten to shave. As a strike, it's now 3-1 to Brett Gardner. It'll be 2-3-4 in the Yankees lineup here in the 4th. Again, A. Dickey starting out as he's done against the Yankees here in this ballpark. Just one hit. That's a pretty good pitch. Dickey wants that. Well, you look at the Yankees and what they've done over their last 16 games. Remember, this team started out 3-6, but boy, it's been a different story over the last couple of weeks.
Well, they've really been swinging the bats too, but the number that sticks out to me is that 2.69. This team has been pitching, and the bullpen has been absolutely outstanding. When you get a lead and carry it into the latter part of a ball game, and that bullpen can shut it down, that's going to lead to a lot of success.
Alex Rodriguez steps in. leadoff walk, and you got to keep your eye on Gardner. He is 8 for 9 in steals. Rodriguez cuts at the first pitch. We mentioned that great streak for the Yankees, 13-3. They went 3-0 at Tampa Bay, 3-1 in Detroit. They beat the Mets 2-1 at home. Same for the Rays, 2-1, and then they just swept the Red Sox at Fenway. So they're beating good teams. At the start of each of those series, the teams they have beaten over those 16 games, all over 500. At the time, the Tigers and the Mets were both 9 games over 500. So the Yankees are playing good ball. Rodriguez bounces it to short. Goins will go to the bag and throw to first. Another double play. Ryan Goins is having a good start to his night with the glove.
Outstanding job by Ryan Goins, and if your momentum is taking you to the bag, why not take it yourself? Ryan could have flipped this ball to Travis right here, but he says, I got it, I got it. The ball's taking him right to that bag, steps on it, and that may look like an off-balance throw, but Ryan's in pretty good control of his body right there. Just an outstanding athlete.
Goins made a terrific play earlier in the game in the second inning. Take a hit away from Garrett Jones. Rodriguez bounces into the 6-3 double play. Beltran loops it into right. Carrera is there, and a quick inning. Dickey walked the leadoff man. The double play erases him. 3 up, 3 down in the fourth.
Presented by the 2015 Honda CR-V, Motor Trend's 2015 Sport Utility of the Year.
Good to be back home for the Blue Jays at Rogers Center. We finished up a long 10-game road trip. Be home all week with an off day on Thursday. So it'll be Jose Bautista leading things off. Second time through the order. Bautista was called out. He had a couple of borderline pitches go against him in the first. Breaking ball on the corner.
See, Jose stepped out a couple of times there, and I think this is a little bit of a communication with the pitcher and catcher, but it's very difficult for hitters to time a pitcher like Whitley with this delivery. It's an unconventional delivery. You see Jose's getting frustrated right here, and I think it's because of the way Whitley starts in his motion. It's hard to tell when he's going to start, and when he does initiate his delivery, there's not a whole lot going on, so it's tough to time him as a hitter.
Another pitch right on the outside corner. And the league, everybody that we see has done a terrific job of working Bautista away. And they're going to stay away here. Too far outside.
It's very unconventional. It almost looks like he's pitching from the stretch, but it's just a quick little step back, up and go. And you don't have that whole windup that you normally see from a pitcher pitching from the windup.
There's a changeup, and Bautista strikes out. That's 4 strikeouts for Whitley.
Another pitch with great location from Whitley, and we have not seen him throw much in the middle of the plate. See that changeup grip, and look at that ball just dive straight into the ground. Jose's attacking that baseball because it looks like a strike as it enters the hitting zone.
Edwin Encarnacion grounded out to the second baseman his first time up. He tries to go against the shift. Garrett Jones is there. He throws to Whitley, 2 down. We've seen the Blue Jays make a conscious effort to hit the ball the other way because they've been constantly pitched away.
Brick Jacoby talked about that all spring training long, and his theory on that is he'd like to see guys try to go the other way and beat that shift if they can do it without manipulating their swings. What happened there is Edwin's trying to stay inside that ball and shoot it the right way, but in doing so, that fastball got in on the hands. There's assistant hitting coach Eric Owens right there.
In case you're just joining us, Brooke Jacoby has been suspended by Major League Baseball for 2 weeks. Kevin Pillar rifles it past Chase Headley into left. Pillar continues to swing a hot bat. 2-out single here in the 4th.
It's a 2-seam fastball. Whitley trying to get it inside on Pillar, but this one stays up, and you can see how that movement on that pitch was actually just in. There was no downward movement. Ones that stay on that horizontal plane stay on the path of the bat. Kevin Pillar gets the bat head out and smokes that right past Headley.
Pillar was 0 for 5 yesterday. Tolley has a hit. He singled in his only at bat.
And that's the pitch right there. If pitchers are going to get that pitch off the plate away, and I don't care who the hitter is, but that's unhittable. So now Tolley's buried into an 0-1 hole, and that's where we've seen some frustration from Bautista the last couple of weeks. Edwin as well. They're being pitched away, but they're even getting calls off the plate.
There goes Pillar. He got a terrific jump, and he's in there safe. Pillar is 5 for 5 in steal attempts. Every aspect of his game is clicking on all cylinders.
Well, Kevin Pillar communicates with first base coach Tim Leeper, who's also the base running coach, but look at the jump he gets. That's where it's stolen. This base is not stolen on the catcher, John Ryan Murphy. This base is stolen on Whippy. You can see he's anxious to get out of there. He's almost getting a little head start. Good, aggressive, hard slide. That foot goes right into the base.
Blue Jays were 6 for 6 in steal attempts during their road trip. Tolley cuts and misses. Runner in scoring position now for Josh Tolley. He got his first base hit of the season last time up. There goes Pillar to third. The ball is hit to the second baseman. Pillar will continue to go home, but they throw out Tolley to end the inning. Blue Jays have stranded a runner in each of the last 3 innings. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zong.
It's in support of the Jays Care Foundation. It goes in Toronto May 7th at Rogers Centre and June 23rd at Labatt Park in London. You can join Roberto Alomar, Jesse Barfield, Lloyd Mosby, Devon White, and Dwayne Ward, who's actually here in the building tonight. Take batting practice with some Blue Jays legends. Go to bluejays.com/home run challenge for more. And I do not believe that Dwayne Ward will be throwing batting practice. I don't think he'd have much success against him, right, Buck?
No, he will never give in to anybody. He's going to snap off a breaking ball, not tell you it's coming either. You saw Wardo. He's in the radio booth with Jerry Howard as Joe has slid into the chair here in the TV booth. Pat Tabler taking some well-deserved time off. Good to have Joe here for the week. Stephen Drew showed bunt, takes a strike. Pulled on the ground. Encarnacion at first will wave Dickey off. One down. Edwin playing his 15th game at first base, and of course that's all related to the Bautista injury. Jose can't play in the outfit as he can't throw yet, so he's had the DH. Chase Headley, a switch hitter, batting left-handed against Dickey, got a base hit in the second. It was the first hit for the Yankees, the only hit that Dickey has allowed. And in New York, we saw Headley bat right-handed against Dickey, and I asked him about that around the batting cage today. He said, well, I'm a natural right-hander. I've always felt comfortable that way. Pilar calls for it. It's in the alley in left center, and Headley's retired. But Headley told me all I was thinking about doing was hitting the ball as a natural right-hander. He said, literally, I don't know if I'm going to hit lefty or righty tonight. This was during BP.
And that's what a knuckleballer will do. We saw Justin Smoke in the dugout with Edwin playing first base every day due to the injury to Bautista and him having to DH. This is the fall guy right here. Justin Smoke has just not had a chance to see the field a whole lot, and I think more than anything, that's the reason Bautista needs to get back out in right field, so hopefully that shoulder can heal up soon.
Yeah, Smoke was swinging the bat fairly well, but now his ABs have been diminished. This is Garrett Jones. He was robbed of a base hit in the second by Ryan Goins. Jones hit a ball to the first base side of second. Looked like it was headed into center, but Goins came across from shortstop and threw him out.
Edwin's doing an admirable job at first base, but I think for the Blue Jays' sake, John Gibbons would like to keep him off of his feet every day and allow him to DH more. And Justin Smoke, of course, with some great footwork and great glove at first base as well.
Slapped to the shortstop position. That's the third baseman, Donaldson, throwing him out. 3 up, 3 down into fifth. 9 pitches for Dickey. He's on a roll tonight.
Ronaldo and Real Madrid. You can catch all the action at 2:30 Eastern on Sportsnet. You can bet there'll be a lot of Blue Jay players interested in that game. A lot of soccer fans on this team, Buck.
There sure are a lot of soccer fans on this team, including Deanna Navarro and Russell Martin. They all enjoy watching those great teams, and it's the Europa Cup now, and lots of great soccer action, so make sure you check it out tomorrow afternoon. Heck of a ball game going on. Only 4 hits in the game, 1 for the Yankees, 3 for the Blue Jays, and no one has stepped on home plate yet. This is Danny Valencia, who got a good pitch to hit that hanging breaking ball inside, and he's thinking, man, I should have swung it down.
Sometimes the backup slider is the best pitch in baseball because Danny is a right-hand hitter. You give up on that pitch. If you're looking for it, that ball could be in the 200 level.
Valencia's got some power. Hit that one up the middle, but there's Stephen Drew right behind the bag. 1 down.
The championship-winning Honda CRF 450R for those who dare to ride red.
You wonder how hitting has become so difficult in baseball. Look at where second baseman Stephen Drew is playing, right up the middle. That's a base hit up the middle. It's been that way for 100 years, but Stephen Drew is playing right there, and that's what the advanced scouting charts show. And they take a lot of hits away. It's becoming increasingly difficult to hit in this game, and that's one of the reasons.
The defenses have really fine-tuned their setup. Ryan Goins bounced out to the first baseman, his first time up. Of course, Jose Reyes is on the disabled list. He had to come to the DL with that cracked rib, and hopefully he'll get healthy and get back to playing again. And there's no one more disappointed than Jose Reyes.
He's just such a dynamic leadoff hitter, and Jose was swinging the bat so well before his injury. And then, of course, he tried to bat just right-handed. And that makes it very difficult. He was batting right-handed against right-handed pitching, which he has not done for years, and that's very difficult. And you could see the frustration mounting till he finally had to go onto that disabled list.
2-2 to Goins. Drives this ball to left field. Gardner on the run, on the track, makes the catch. Brett Gardner, we mentioned he's a center fielder as well, and boy, he turned and headed toward the wall, took his eye off the baseball, knew it was hit hard, and got back easily to make the catch.
A little different angle for a left fielder, the ball coming off the bat, than what he's used to in center field from a left-handed batter. This ball is going to slice more than normal. What he did is he played that slice, but he almost overplayed it. But nice job correcting himself with the fancy footwork just in front of the left field fence.
Ezekiel Carrera, the number 9 hitter, had a bunt single his first time up, and the Yankees are guarding against that bunt here with 2 outs.
No substitute for athleticism, and that's what Brett Gardner is, and that's what these guys ranging in the outfield can do. They can make up for a misstep, and Gardner showed it right there.
Ball on a strike to the number 9 hitter. Carrera was 2 for 3 yesterday in Cleveland. Just called up from AAA Buffalo. Played in 20 games in Buffalo and hit .333. Off speed pitch. He's out in front.
Whitley getting tremendous movement on that changeup. That's probably one of the best ones we've seen him throw tonight. Carrera totally fooled out front.
He gets jammed and lines softly to the third baseman. 3 up, 3 down. Blue Jays go in the 5th. Now it's time to go to the 6th, and here comes the Home Hardware Cleanup Crew. It's brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products.
TD Comfort Zone tonight, where we'll see some guests of TD. Meanwhile, over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse, our folks from Sick Kids Hospital. Great to see the kids out at the ball game tonight.
Always great to have those folks from Sick Kids out here enjoying the comforts of the Jays Care Community Clubhouse. Welcome. J.R. Murphy starts things off here in the sixth. Ari's really had a good night tonight. He has averaged just 10.2 pitches per inning tonight through the first 5 innings. For the season, it's up to 16, and that's a number where if hitters see more pitches per inning, chances are they're going to have a better feel for the timing of that knuckleball. Donaldson to his left takes his time. In time at first, one down.
Ari really took a different approach this spring. This is a veteran that's been around for an awful lot of years, but he really pulled back a little bit and tried not to amp up too early in spring training, and it has paid off. He's really kept his team in the ball game almost every game he's pitched, save for the one tough one that he had down in St. Petersburg. But overall, pretty good. He's just not getting a whole lot of run support, and it's been probably one of the brighter spots in this struggling rotation.
Dickey has got just 2.8 runs per start while he's in the game, and that's counter to what the Blue Jays hitters have done all year. This is Didi Gregorius. The shortstop pops it out of play.
People ask sometimes why is that, but when you look back, he has opposed some very difficult pitching. Rick Porcello in Boston, he faced Drew Smiley, faced Alex Wood with the Braves, Odorizzi, so he's had some tough opponents. That's just kind of rotten luck.
Dickey's ahead 1-2. Well, the opposing teams know that Dickey's not going to give up a lot of runs, so they play it very tight, very conservatively. Ground ball. Goins comes after it, throws on the run, on the money. Easy play for Ryan Goins. He is making just his third start at shortstop. Jacoby Ellsbury will step in with 2 outs. He lined out softly to the shortstop in the first and then hit a low liner back to the mound that R.A. Dickey made a nice play on to end the third. Of course, Dickey won the Gold Glove in the American League in 2013.
And that was a fastball that he tried to get in on the hands of Ellsbury, and he did just that. Jacoby with a good swing staying inside the baseball. But he was able to get in on the hands. It was hit hard, but not as hard as it looked, and Dickey made the play.
There's a ball down the left field line. That's going to go over near the corner. Valencia will play it back in. And Ellsbury has a 2-out double. Just the second hit of the night for the Yankees. Ellsbury's third double of the season.
Knuckleball here by Dickey. 2-0. Ellsbury sitting on it. Not a bad pitch. It's still elevated. Didn't do a whole lot. But that's a nice piece of hitting by Ellsbury. Not trying to do too much with that pitch and taking it pitch away to left field.
So Brett Gardner, he has lined out and walked tonight. He'll bat with 2 outs. It's a scoreless game, top of the 6th. Ellsbury at second leads the Yankees in runs scored. He scored 19 runs. Tolley, he's not really sure where that pitch was. You can see he was almost surprised that it was called a ball. He's talking to the umpire about the strike zone. Mike Estabrook behind the plate tonight.
You won't normally see a catcher carry on that long of a conversation between pitches, but Tolley really thought he was going to get it. Looks like it just missed up.
That one caught the top of the strike zone. It's 2 balls and a strike to Brett Gardner.
It's one thing for a catcher to receive the baseball well and to have a quiet body and good soft hands, and really what you do is you give that umpire a good look. Very difficult to do with a knuckleball pitcher, but totally can, and that's why he's so valuable for RA.
Way outside. Alex Rodriguez is on deck. Rodriguez has grounded out and grounded into a double play. There's a knuckleball, ball 4, so Gardner walks for a second time tonight. It's only the second walk Dickey has given up, and that'll bring Rodriguez to the plate with 2 on.
I'm not sure he wanted to give in to Brett Gardner right there. He threw a very good knuckleball trying to get a swing out of Gardner, but I think with Gardner ahead of the count, believe it or not, RA would rather face Rodriguez in this situation with the open base.
Yeah, get a fresh start. Don't want to give in to Gardner, as Gardner has always hit well against the Blue Jays. Same can be said for Rodriguez. We mentioned he has 57 career home runs against the Blue Jays. That's the most against the Jays.
Both of these guys will run. Speed on the bases at the top of the Yankees lineup. Ellsbury on second, Gardner on first. So Josh Tolley put the signs on. That alerts the infielders as to where he's going to throw the baseball if they try to double steal.
What are the options on defense with this double steal possibility?
Well, the obvious one is you can go to third base. The other thing is you can go backdoor. The problem with you got speed on first base, and Brett Gardner not being held on, he's off quite a bit. The other option is just to eat the ball, not throw it around, and just attack the hitter in this situation, which I think R.A. Dickey would be in favor of.
Boy, Tolley did a great job of catching that nasty knuckleball, but it's off the plate inside. Ball and a strike to Rodriguez. Fouled off the catcher's glove.
Good knuckleball by Dickey. Looked like Rodriguez was right on this pitch. It stayed up in the zone in middle. Just missing it.
Dickey hasn't recorded a strikeout tonight. This would be good for number 1. 1-2, 2 outs. Fly ball, shallow right. Carrera over near the foul line, gets there and makes the catch. R.A. Dickey pitches around a 2-out double and a walk. He strands a pair. Now he needs some runs.
Games pitch by pitch and enjoy in-game video highlights. The app is available on the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, and Android. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. One of the great things about this app, Buck, is you click on the name of any player and you can see just about everything you need to know. And you look at Devin Travis, these numbers just jump out at you, and they are so impressive.
They sure are, Barry, and that led to his being named the American League Rookie of the Month. Travis in the leadoff spot hasn't fared well. He's 0 for 2 tonight, and that drops his average to 167 hitting leadoff. That's the impact of not having Jose Reyes to hit in that #1 spot. Travis's numbers are dramatically better. When he's hit second in the lineup so far this season, he's hit .474. Of course, he started out batting 9th. He hit .371 in the 9th spot.
And you're seeing a lot more fastballs in that 9th spot, too, and I think he's starting to get around the league now.
There's a base hit for Travis. A leadoff single here in the 6th. We just got to talk about the numbers and get him going a little bit.
Must have hurt us. When you hit down in the order, you're going to get more fastballs. As a catcher calling a game, you're going to call more fastballs as you get down there. Top of the lineup, you're going to mix it up a little bit. And I think that now that Devin Travis has had this month, the American League is very aware of what he can do now, starting to see a lot more breaking pitches.
Yeah, he wasn't even on the radar at the start of the season. Now people are concentrating on how you can get him out. Travis at first for Donaldson. And the Yankees think he might run. Donaldson is grounded out twice. He's put the ball on the ground, so it might be a good time for the Blue Jays to play hit and run. It's a scoreless game.
Both times Donaldson getting sliders from Whitley.
That time he gets that fastball in a good spot.
And that's what you have to do as you get through the lineup a few times. Chase Whitley mixing it up. He's gotten Donaldson twice on sliders. As a hitter, Josh may be looking slider. First pitch right there. Whitley sneaks that fastball in the inside corner.
So who switches first here? Does Donaldson continue to look for the breaking ball?
It's a continuous chess match. I got to believe Donaldson's going to sit slider this whole at bat.
You saw the sign from the catcher. He flips that thumb, and that has become the throw over sign universally.
Good hitters will sit around and wait for that pitch, knowing they may get one pitch thrown on that bat. And this is the type of at bat that Josh Donaldson may sit around and wait for that slider. Of course, with 2 strikes, you have to change your approach a little bit. He got a hanger and he just missed it.
He expected it to break and it didn't, but that's the pitch he was looking for.
We said the backup slider, the hanging slider, can be the best pitch in baseball, but it can also go a long way. As Josh Donaldson looked like he was sitting on it right there, but it was so bad and stayed up that he actually missed it.
0-2. Nobody out. Bautista is on deck. I don't think the Blue Jays are anxious to steal a base in this part of their lineup. Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion, of course, they can go deep at any time.
Good communication here by Whitley and Ryan Murphy. They don't like it. They're going to switch it up. Whitley steps off, going to give a new series of signs. Even though there's not a runner on second base, they're going through a series of signs. They know with TV cameras that they have access.
There's a drive to center. Ellsbury on the run, looking up, off the wall. Travis is headed for third. He's going to be stopped there as there's nobody out. Josh Donaldson drills one off the wall in center. His 7th double. Of course, they stopped Travis at third because of where you are in the lineup. Second and third, nobody out.
And what do you think he hit? A slider. He's been sitting on it the entire at-bat. We talked about it. Josh stays with this pitch. Whitley threw another one. It hung a bit over the middle of the plate as well. That's not where he wants to be in that count, but he left it over the plate. This is what good hitters do. They will sit on a pitch until you make your mistake. Josh Donaldson just made Whitley pay.
Travis stopped at third with Bautista coming to the plate. Nobody out. Blue Jays threatening to get on the board first. Bautista has struck out twice. Ground ball to third. Headley looks the runner back. Bautista's out. 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Oakland trying to close in on 500. They're 11-15 at the start of play. That's the 7th home run for Stephen Vogt. He's got 24 ribbies. Off to a great start. First pitch breaking ball for Encarnacion. That's a strike. Edwin has grounded to second twice, and the infield still back, respecting the power of Encarnacion.
This is where Edwin really has to use the middle of the field. We've seen him. He's a much better hitter when he thinks middle, other way. We saw him get a couple hits the other way in Cleveland. That's usually when we think he's coming around. This is a power hitter. He gets that barrel out front. But you still have to keep the hands inside and think middle of the field so he's not getting those hands away from him and coming around the baseball. We've seen an awful lot of ground balls to the left side.
You can't really imagine that they're going to pitch to Encarnacion. They got a base open here, and as hot as Pilar is, he's not Edwin Encarnacion. 2-1. That's a tough pitch to handle. Down and away. Kevin Pilar is on deck. He singled in the 4th.
And we've said it throughout their struggles. Both Encarnacion and Bautista have been pitched very tough and usually away. They make pitches like that. It's difficult, but they have to make that adjustment, try to take them up the middle.
There's a breaking ball in a good spot and a big strikeout for Whitley. That's 5 strikeouts now for the Yankees right-hander.
Boy, he came up and made a big pitch at a big time. You see that spin on the slider? Edwin's still pulling off a little bit, though, and even though he's the big slugger, you still have to stay on the baseball in that situation. Try to use the middle of the field. Even though he's Edwin, a ground ball in the middle of the field scores a run right there with the middle infield back.
So Kevin Pilar hits with 2 outs. He's been swinging the bat great of late. 1 for 2 so far. No score in the ball game. Blue Jays have 5 hits. The Yankees just 2. Ripped inside. They were trying to come inside, and Pilar was all over it.
Talk about a scouting report. Kevin Pilar was in the batting cage today. In the last round, he asked the batting practice pitcher for fastballs in. He was pulling stuff just like that. He was pulling balls into the batting cage. He wanted to work on handling the fastball in. That's it right there, and he knows why, because Chase Whitley likes to go in there with it. We'll see where Whitley and John Ryan Murphy go here now that they're up 2 strikes.
0-2. Changeup popped up. Gregorius, the shortstop, under it, makes the catch. The Blue Jays had 2nd and 3rd and nobody out, and Whitley pitches out of it. They'll go to the 7th. It's a scoreless ball game.
NYA is the exclusive official team shop of your Toronto Blue Jays. Visit the newest flagship store at Toronto Eaton Centre Level 1 or visit jshop.ca. Buck?
Thank you, man. Good opportunity to get the latest Blue Jays merchandise. Looked like somebody was buying a Devin Travis picture right there. Carlos Beltran, check swing foul. Beltran has hit the ball hard twice, but nothing to show for it. He's lined out to center and lined out to right. This is the best knuckleball Dickey's had this season.
Great movement on that pitch right there. That one just took a dive straight down.
And what has happened for Dickey in his favor is because he's thrown so many strikes, the Yankees are swinging.
They get in swing mode, and when you can get a team aggressive and in swing mode, that plays right into RA's hands. Get the hitters more aggressive, going after the pitches, and now he can continue to change speed. 0-2, he went with the harder knuckleball right there at 78 miles per hour. He can also pull back and be in the high 60s.
He wouldn't chase right at the top of the zone.
Dickey again really focusing on the bottom half a lot in these last few starts early in this season. When he utilizes his legs, then he can get on top of that knuckleball. When you don't use your legs as a traditional pitcher, you're going to be all upper body. You're going to jump out front, and that arm's going to trail. It's no different. If RA gets under that knuckleball, it'll float and stay flat and up in the zone.
Tolle had it for a minute, but couldn't close the glove on that foul tip. Banged off his glove. We mentioned that RA hasn't had a strikeout tonight.
Using that bottom half, and that way he's not being too aggressive with the upper half, but that one actually stayed up in the zone a little bit more.
2-2 now to Beltran. Beltran, Stephen Drew, and then Chase Headley. 4, 5, and 6 in the Yankees order. He just protected the plate on that swing.
And you can see the defensive swings, and that's when RA is very good. And you talked about it. He's been around the plate all night, gets these hitters in swing mode, get a little aggressive. Very defensive swing right there by Beltran, fooled and out front.
Now it's a full count.
Still rather see more of these knuckleballs down in the zone than up there, but especially after he's been up throughout the course of this at bat, if he can stay down here, he can get Beltran.
Lined again, this time to right, and it's over the head of Carrera. Plays it off the wall. Now he bobbles it, and Beltran will stop at second. It looked like Carrera took a step in, and that ball took off on him. Beltran's hit the ball hard 3 times tonight.
There's that knuckleball by Dickey. You want to get it down in the zone. Look where this pitch is. It stays flat and about belt high. That's good hitting for any hitter. And a tough jump on Carrera here. This is a line drive. Went ball hit right at an outfielder. The toughest one to read. Ezekiel came in hard with that first step, and as soon as you do that, you're beat. Has to go retrieve that ball. It's a double for Beltran.
Just the 3rd hit for the Yankees. Leadoff double here in the 7th.
And that's why it's such a temperamental pitch, the knuckleball. And Ari will be the first to admit it can feel great out of his hand, but then if it stays flat and belt high, that's good hitting. He's been very fortunate tonight, but because it's so unpredictable, he just doesn't always know as it comes out of his hand.
Stephen Drew goes after the first pitch and swings right through it. They're playing Drew to pull. You see Goins behind the bag at second, almost directly behind R.A. Dickey. Foul ball. You could hear the home plate umpire Mike Estabrook hollering foul. The interesting thing about the way they're playing Drew here is that the pitch is unpredictable, and Dickey doesn't know where it's going. Sure, it's soft, and you would anticipate that it would be pulled, but that's a big gaping hole at the shortstop position.
Donaldson staying home at third early in the count, anticipating the bunt just in case, but now he has to stay there with a runner on second base in case he does take off. But you're right, it changes all of your spray charts when you're facing a knuckleball.
He pulls it to the first baseman. Encarnacion will flip to Dickey. Beltran goes to third on the ground out.
The championship-winning Honda CRF 450R for those who dare to ride red.
So now the Blue Jays infield has to come in. They are going to try to cut off the runner at the plate. Chase Headley is 1 for 2. Beltran at third. He doubled and moved to third on the ground out. Wow, that's a tough one for Tolle. You anticipate getting a nasty knuckleball, but then that one shoots up and away. He stabbed at it and got it.
Very unpredictable right there, and that's the one that just gets away from He has no control when it takes off like that.
Pretty good pitch, and Dickey once again not getting the call. It's 3-0.
And Tolle did a nice job receiving it. It's different if a catcher takes that away from the strike zone, but he did a nice job receiving that ball. Gave home plate umpire Mike Estabrook a good look, but still did not get the call.
He threw a knuckler 3-0 and got a strike. It's one thing Dickey has avoided is giving a hitter that 3-0 fastball. He just won't do it. Ball 4, knuckler up and away. Third walk issued by Dickey, but that sets up the double play. And now the infield would back up. Dickey, of course, a great fielder himself. So he's checking on the infield behind him, see who's got coverage at second on the comeback.
Dickey will mix in fastballs. A lot of times he'll try to sneak him in, maybe first pitch to a hitter, but he has vowed not to get hurt by them. He figures live and die by the knuckleball. Talked to him about that a couple of starts ago.
Steve Delabar, who has just joined the ball club, starting to loosen up for the Jays. Delabar pitched yesterday for Buffalo, but threw just 5 pitches in 2/3 of an inning. He's been throwing the ball very well lately down in AAA. 1-0, 1 out. Close pitches. Dickey hasn't had many go in his favor.
And it's such a big pitch. This could be a 1-1 count right now. Instead, it's 2-0, and this changes the entire at bat. Puts the hitter at a huge advantage.
Dickey got the sign for the knuckleball and then stepped off. Now it's 3-0. You really have to stay with a knuckleball in this situation. It's a scoreless game. You're in the 7th. That's his bread and butter pitch.
You always talk about traditional pitchers. As a catcher, if I'm calling a ball game, you're going to win or lose with that guy's best pitch out there. With RA, it's the knuckleball.
Those a strike. 3-1 again. Second time this inning in this situation with a man at third. Blue Jays turn to double play in the 4th. Ground ball. Encarnacion can't make the play. It's off his glove. They go to first. They get D out. They go to third, and Donaldson can't come up with it. Travis made a heck of a play backing up Encarnacion. They're able to get Jones. but the Yankees score. The ball went off the glove of Encarnacion. They had a shot at Headley going into third, but the Yankees have broken out on top here in the seventh.
Well, Edwin holding the runner on. He's coming off the base, hit very hard, just cannot come up with it. What a play by Devin Travis. He takes a great angle to this ball. Edwin spins to third to try to get that runner at third, but tough play. Edwin gets a piece of it, just enough probably to slow it down for Travis, but Edwin just rushed that throw to third. A good throw's got him.
This is popped up behind home plate. Tolley gets there, and Murphy is retired. That ends the inning. But the leadoff double comes around to score. The Yankees have taken a 1-0 lead.
Presented by Honda. For the first 15,000 fans, you'll receive a Blue Jays and One Love TO Come Together t-shirt. Go to BlueJays.com for more details. Buck?
Big night tomorrow night. That's a good-looking t-shirt that'll be given away here tomorrow night. Game 2 of this 3-game series against the New York Yankees. Marco Estrada will make his first start for the Blue Jays. He'll be up against Michael Pineda, who's off to a 3-0 start for the Yanks. Middle game of a 3-game series. This is Josh Tolley with the Yankees leading 1-0. Ball and a strike to the Blue Jays catcher. Tolley had a single off of Whitley in the second. It came with 2 outs. He grounded out in the fourth. Breaking ball. 2-1. Whitley's only thrown 75 pitches. He's been very economical.
I think if Joe Girardi can get him through the lineup 3 times, he would be more than thrilled to hand it over to his bullpen.
Good cut by Tolley. Evens the count at 2-2.
That's the luxury you have when you have a bullpen like the Yankees right now. Joe knows he can go down there at any time from this point on and feel pretty good about this ball game, even though he's only up 1 run.
They have certainly strengthened the bullpen. Tolley fouls it off. Jason Shreve is the left-hander. Chris Martin is the right-hander. The Yankees bullpen last 16 games has an ERA of 0.87. Tolley swings and misses. Murphy's throw to first completes the strikeout. 1 down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Blue Jays are back at Rogers Center in Toronto, looking to get things turned around after a disappointing 3-7 road trip. Danny Valencia throwing that backup slider again.
Well, this is the point in the ball game that Whitley could be slowly hitting the ball, even though he's only at 79 pitches. We've seen a lot of those sliders back up, but on the other hand, we've also seen some very good ones that he's thrown at big points in this ball game.
His career high in pitches actually came against the Blue Jays last June 18th. He threw 95 pitches in just 5 innings. He left that ball game leading 3-2. Valencia checked his swing, and Ed Hickox agrees with that.
Used to be a time where you try to get to a team's bullpen. Those times are changing.
It's a fly ball, not deep. Ellsbury, the center fielder, makes the catch, 2 down. That's pretty universal now. There used to be the old phrase you'd hear early in the ballgame, hey, let's get into their bullpen.
Get into the bullpen, because the relievers were usually failed starters that aren't very good, but it's not what you want to do against the Yankees, and the Royals started that trend last year. That really woke up the whole baseball industry.
Royals are about to get back 2 big arms in their bullpen, Greg Holland, the closer, and Luke Hochevar, who has been a very good setup man. The Yankees 168. We'll see the Astros on the next road trip. Blue Jays, of course, have struggled out of their bullpen. They're 13th in ERA.
Really came to light last year with those Royals, that 7-8-9 combination. Kelvin Herrera, Wade Davis, and Greg Holland. They rode that right through that magical October until they ran into those Giants.
Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah. They didn't run into the Giants. They ran into Bumgarner.
And they had the tying run at third base when the game ended in Game 7 of the World Series. I think that has propelled the Royals to a good start this year.
And that's a team that was here in early June. They had just fired their hitting coach. They were in shambles.
2 balls and a strike to Ryan Goins. Here you see the umpire hearing it from the Blue Jays dugout, Mike Estabrook. There's ball 3. It's 3-1. Ezequiel Carrera is on deck. He's had a bunt single, and he's lined out softly to third. Blue Jays, there you see smoke looming in the dugout. He's got a bat. It's a full count. It appears as though smoke will come on as a pinch hitter if Goins can reach, and you can see that picture shows you what John Gibbons thinks of the strike zone.
And whatever came out of his mouth was directed towards Mike Estabrook behind home plate.
There's a line drive that's going to get down. Ellsbury over to cut it off. Goins will stop at first. Ryan Goins with the 2-out single. And now Carrera is being called back. Justin Smoke will come on to hit for him with a man on and 2 outs. Smoke has some power. He's a switch hitter, so this is really a good opportunity for Gibbons to hit for Carrera. The Yankees have a righty and a lefty ready down in that bullpen. Larry Rothschild is the pitching coach. He just came to the top step to tell Joe he wants to go talk to his pitcher, Chase Whitley. Just a reminder about Smoke. You know, they go over these hitters at the start of the series, but in the heat of battle, you might forget, so he's going to get a visit. Blue Jays have been stymied by Chase Whitley tonight, and it's the exception to the rule.
And it can happen. This is what's happened to the Blue Jays. They've had games where they score 10 and 12 runs a game, but then they get totally shut down on a night just like tonight, and we've seen it happen. This offense has been up and down, but for the most part, they are pounding the baseball, scoring plenty of runs, and it certainly goes back to the pitching on this club and the struggles that they're enduring here early in the season.
They will leave Whitley into the game, as Smoke, the switch hitter, has hit 200 against right-handed pitching compared to 2 for 2 against lefties. So they'll keep Smoke on the left side of the plate. Smoke as a pinch hitter, left-handed, 1 for 3. He's got some power. Breaking ball for strike 1. Boy, you think about a pinch hitter coming off the bench, he's geared up for fastball, and they start him out with a breaking pitch.
And that could have been the topic of that conversation. Larry Rothschild going to the mound right there.
Bouncing ball. This should end the inning. Jones steps on the bag to retire Smoke. We've played 7 complete here at Rogers Center. The Yankees have a 1-0 lead. Utility of the year.
Scoreless ball game in the top of the 7th inning. Carlos Beltran hit a 3-2 knuckleball from Dickey, misjudged slightly by right fielder Ezekiel Carrera. It goes all the way to the wall. Carrera gets that ball in, but Beltran would eventually come around to score on a ground ball by Garrett Jones to score the only run of this ball game. Blue Jays trail the Yankees by 1.
Jonathan Diaz takes over at shortstop. Goins goes out to right. Carrera was in right. He was lifted in favor of the pinch hitter. Number 9 hitter Didi Gregorius is grounded out twice to the shortstop. Well, you can't blame R.A. Dickey. He has done everything he can do. He's held the Yankees to 1 run on 3 hits. Roberto Osuna loosening up. Dickey pitching into the 8th. Now it's 2-2.
And I'm sure Dickey not happy with that 5.23 ERA coming into this evening, but he, for the most part, has kept his team in most ball games. With one exception down in Tampa, he gave up 7 earned runs in 4 2/3. But other than that, he's been just fine in terms of keeping his team in the ballgame.
Fly ball to shallow center. Gregorius is retired. It's the first out of the top of the 8th. Jacoby Ellsbury, the leadoff man, had a double in the 6th, and that came with 2 outs. He was stranded at second. He's extended his hit streak to 7 straight with that double in the 6th. That ties his season high. He had an earlier 7-game hit streak as well.
Dickey has been able to tame the top of the order, and that's not easy to do. Ellsbury and Gardner, 2 very good left-handed hitters for the Yankees with speed. Get those guys on base, they can cause a lot of havoc. The big boys following them.
He goes after the 2-0 pitch. This is playable down the left field line, and what a play by Josh Donaldson. I don't know if he caught that with his glove or his bare hand, running away from the field. But he is so used to that spacious territory in Oakland. He's had a lot of these plays.
Well, O.Co Coliseum, he's got all kinds of foul territory to deal with, and it looks like this is almost like a little fade pattern, a little football catch. And he did get that throwing hand in there to help secure it. I think it may have hit his hand first.
Well, what an effort by Donaldson. Going into foul territory to make a fine play. Defense has been sharp again tonight. Dickey's made a great play himself to help the cause.
Normally you'll see the shortstop come over and make that play, but Jonathan Diaz had so far to go and it was not hit real high. So Josh had to chase it down.
The Yankees have won 6 straight road games. They are 10-3 for the season playing away from Yankee Stadium. Got a veteran lineup. He's played very good on the road. 2-0 to Brett Gardner. Three balls and a strike to Gardner. The only run of the ball game scored on a 3-4-3 ground out. Rodriguez is on deck. Full count.
Gonna go back to that ground ball by Stephen Drew in an 0-2 count. He took a knuckleball and he literally came around it to hook that ball to the first base side to Edwin to advance that runner to third. Eventually came around to score on the ground ball by Jones.
Hit to center field, and Pilar's got a bead on it. He makes the catch. So Dickey, a strong 8-inning effort. Blue Jays down by a run, 1-0. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zorn. game. PlayStation provided us with a prediction of who they thought the Blue Jays player of the game would be. Tonight, they picked R.A. Dickey.
He did a pretty good job picking the 8 innings, hit that dead on. Dickey giving up just 3 hits, very close. A few walks, no strikeouts, but R.A. Dickey last season, he was one of those guys. He was 3rd in the major leagues, swing and miss percentage at over 20%. Average is just around 13. Not getting those strikeouts this year, but he's all around the plate. He had the Yankees in swing mode. They were putting balls in play, but very weakly. A lot of defensive swings tonight.
The simulation is provided by MLB 15, the show. Baseball is better, only on PlayStation. Well, now the Blue Jays got to get Dickey a run, maybe 2. Big Chris Martin into the ball game in relief of Chase Whitley, who had a terrific outing himself. Whitley shutting out the Blue Jays over 7 innings on just 6 hits.
Martin's pitched in 13 games this season, 2.38 ERA. Done a nice job for Joe Girardi. 2 walks and 13 strikeouts in his 11 and 3rd innings of work.
Top of the order for the Blue Jays. Devin Travis, then Josh Donaldson, Jose Bautista. Time to break through against the Yankees.
Martin is a power arm. He'll be up around 94, 95 miles per hour with a slider.
It's a hard slider, late breaker, but it's down and away. Martin pitched in 2 games in that opening series in New York. Total of 2 innings. He had 3 strikeouts. Blue Jays couldn't get anything going against the big right-hander.
Chris Martin will mix in a cutter. That was it there, too, at 90 miles per hour. Does not throw near as many.
Travis covering that outside pitch.
Boy, if you could command a cutter around 89, 90 miles per hour when the fastball is at 94, 95, that's a very good place to be.
Breaking ball pulled to short. Gregorius throws on the run in time. 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Both starters in that ball game getting roughed up. Travis Wood for the Cubs has been charged with 4 earned runs, and Carlos Martinez of the Cardinals has been charged with 6, and they're early in that ball game. Josh Donaldson, he doubled in the 6th. Martin is 6'8", creates a tough angle for hitters, throwing that fastball downhill dramatically. Breaking ball ripped into center field. Donaldson hustling up the line. Gardner will play it back in. Josh Donaldson is 2 for 4.
Well, clearly you can see the game plan of the New York Yankees against Donaldson is the off-speed stuff. This is a slider from Martin. Not a bad pitch, pretty good location down and away, but Josh stays on that very well. And the reason you stay on a pitch so well like that is because you're looking for it again.
So Donaldson's aboard. Jose Bautista 0 for 3 so far. Base hit through the right side. Bautista stayed on that outside pitch, and the Blue Jays have 2 aboard here in the 8th.
Well, Jose had one thing in mind when he came up to bat right here. Donaldson being held on at first with 1 out. He said, enough of this. If they're going to keep painting me outside, I'm just going to take my little 4-hopper through the hole and into right field. That's a team player right there, passing the baton. Now he's going to go on to Edwin. Blue Jays got a little something going.
Joe Girardi, with 2 on, has made the call to the bullpen. Big Dylan Betances will come out of the pen. Andrew Miller worked a lot last night in Boston. It'll be Betances in relief of Martin when we come back. Encarnacion at the plate. lot to do with their success. Andrew Miller has 10 saves, and you can see that he hasn't given up an earned run. Dylan Betances either. Look at the numbers for Betances. The opponent's hitting just 120 against Betances, 068 against Miller.
Now, this pair has been virtually unhittable, and they will strike you out. Miller with 23 strikeouts in his 13 1/3 innings of work. Betances with 25 strikeouts in 14 2/3. Betances has struck out at least 2 batters in each of his last 8 games. He was the logical choice to be a closer after David Robertson took off as a free agent to Chicago, but boy, getting Andrew Miller, having these 2 arms in the back of your bullpen, Joe Girardi's got his choice to close out ball games.
Edwin Encarnacion with 2 aboard. Pops it down the left side. Long run for Gardner. That's going to drop for a base hit. Donaldson's in to score. We are tied. Now they got a shot at second, but Headley doesn't make a throw. Encarnacion ties it on the first pitch from Betances. 3 hits in a row against the Yankees bullpen.
Well, Edwin went up hacking at the first pitch, and it looked like he got jammed just a bit. He got underneath this baseball. Brent Gardner with a long ways to go. He realized diving or sliding he was not going to get there, so he pulled up. Donaldson scores easily, and the Blue Jays have something going here after they've already tied it.
Now the infield has to come in with Kevin Pillar to play. Pillar 1 for 3. Breaking ball way outside.
Betances will be 96, 97 miles per hour with the fastball, slider to go with it. Just a deadly 1-2 combination.
It's a 1-1 game. Bouncing ball, foul, just outside the bag at third. Bautista broke on contact, but it was inches foul.
This is what you'll do with 1 out. Bautista, as soon as that ball's on the ground, he's out of there. Even if that ball's hit right to the third baseman, Headley, what you do is put pressure on the defense. Jose scoring, even if Headley comes up with that in fair territory.
One out. Pillar 10 for 33 with runners in scoring position. Bautista with the opposite field base hit. He's now at third. Encarnacion at second. 98. The Blue Jays finally score a run for R.A. Dickey. Pop behind second. Drew got back to make the play. Pillar pops out. Russell Martin will bat for Josh Tolley. And the rally caps have worked in the 8th. Martin swinging a hot bat of late. Russell, in his last 11 games, has hit .324. He's got his average up to .227.
Well-deserved night off tonight with R.A. Dickey pitching, but Russell has been brought into a key situation here, and now he'll slide behind the plate.
Way outside. Russell's just 0 for 1 against Betances. Breaking ball for a strike. Martin hit a home run in his last at bat yesterday afternoon in Cleveland. It was a deep drive to left center. You know, one thing that Russell has done lately is he's used his 2-strike approach throughout an entire at bat.
really shortening up, and he was off to a very slow start offensively. He had his struggles, and you'll hear a lot of hitters will do that. They'll go to the two-strike approach throughout their entire at-bat. It keeps them shorter, very little stride, and take the hand straight to the baseball.
Up and away for a ball.
Russell will tell you his strength is center, right center. When he is there, that's when he is best. But what he's able to do is what he did in Cleveland yesterday, is still just be short and quick to the baseball. If he catches it out front, he drives it into the left center field bleachers like he did at Progressive Field.
Good eye. Tough to get on top of that high fastball at 98.
It's so tough to handle the two pitches from Betances. When he's 97, 98 with the fastball, and especially when he elevates it, but then he comes back with that slider. Just very difficult to cover both. You almost have to look for one and hope you get it, but get to 2 strikes, you got to go to battle. He's ahead 3-1.
Mike Estabrook called timeout, probably at the request of the catcher. Michael Saunders, you can see him on the bench. He's had some trouble with his knee, and it's reported that he had his knee drained today, so apparently he is not available. Danny Valencia is the next batter. Blue Jays have tied it in the bottom of the 8th. Full count.
Now, if Betances goes with the 3-1 slider, I got to expect it again 3-2. But again, now as a hitter, it's very difficult to sit on a pitch. He's got to look fastball and adjust to that slider, as hard as it is to do against Betances.
Jose Bautista single to right, and Encarnacion with the RBI double. Pulled, fair ball. Bautista's going to come across, but they can't make the play now. Here comes Encarnacion. 2-run score. Russell Martin delivers the RBI base hit to give the Blue Jays the lead.
How big is that off the bench?
Martin with his first pinch hit base hit of the season. Bautista scores the throw in the dirt. It's a base hit and an RBI for Martin. The second run scores on the air as the ball got away from Jones at first. He stretches and can't dig it out of the dirt.
You see the look on Russell's face. He is legging that out, trying to beat it out. What a great at-bat. He did throw the 3-2 slider after 3-1. You have to believe he's coming back with it. I don't think Russell can sit on it, but he's looking fastball, still able to get the barrel, do the slider, and hit it hard enough. What a play by Headley.
It's the 7th error of the season charged to Headley. There goes Martin. He's going to take off for second and get there. Another runner in scoring position for Russell. That's his second stolen base of the season. The Blue Jays finally scoring for R.A. Dickey.
Well, Russell just took off here. Betances not doing a nice job at all holding him on. John Ryan Murphy's got no shot. He just tries it from one knee.
The Blue Jays couldn't do anything against Chase Whitley over 7 innings. Josh Donaldson got a 1-out base hit. He scored to tie it. Nasty breaking ball. That'll end the inning. But the Blue Jays with 3 consecutive 1-out hits. Encarnacion tied it with a double. Martin drives into go-ahead run. They add another on the air.
those who dare to ride red.
Back at Rogers Center, an 8th-inning rally has given Brett Cecil a save opportunity. He's 1 for 2 so far. This will be his 11th appearance, and it'll make a winner out of R.A. Dickey, who was brilliant over 8 innings.
Cecil has pitched in 10 games, 5.14 ERA. Not where he wants to be, but 29 of his last 31 appearances have been scoreless. However, for Cecil, he's given up 4 earned runs and 7 hits over his last 6 games, covering 4 1/3 innings.
Russell Martin behind the plate. He hit for Josh Thole and delivered the go-ahead RBI. An infield hit. R.A. Dickey in line for his first win of the season. 8 brilliant innings from Dickey. He allowed 1 run on 3 hits. Alex Rodriguez. First pitch strike from Cecil. Cecil had his first save on the 28th of April. He pitched an inning in that 11-8 win against Boston. Breaking ball bounced foul. Quickly 0-2.
Cecil will be around 91, 92 miles per hour with that fastball, curveball, cutter, changeup. We know what his bread and butter is. It's that curveball. We'll see if he comes right back to it. 0-2.
Got the high fastball upstairs, made him chase. That'll set up the curveball very effectively.
Let's follow the sequence right here. Russell Martin elevating the fastball, changing the eye level, changing the plane right there of the hitter, Alex Rodriguez. Usually you can double up with that fastball, but usually you come back with the curveball. There it is. Russell Martin going with 1 sign. 2's for curveball. You want to bounce this almost in the dirt.
And Rodriguez lines it to left as Danny Valencia stays with it, makes the catch. 1 out. Now it's time for a preview of what's coming up next on Sportsnet Central. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak. Thank you, Ivanka. This is a pinch hitter into the game for the Yankees. It is Chris Young. Young has got some power. He's off to a good start this season. 6 homers, 12 RBIs. He's got a .313 average.
That's where that extra run provides a little bit of insurance. You can challenge these hitters with nobody on base. Worst case is he puts the game within 1.
Dickey went 8 innings, allowing just 3 hits. He didn't strike out a batter. It's the first time in his career he's pitched 8 innings without a K. His previous high was 6 innings. But what it did was it kept him in the ball game. He threw 108 pitches. He also lowered his ERA almost a full run. He's down to 4.38 now.
Well, really, if you look at all of his starts, like I said, with the exception of the one in Tampa, he's really been keeping his team in the ballgame all of the time. So the numbers weren't really there for RA, but a night like this will really help him get back to where he probably should be.
He's got a chance to improve to 4-0 against the Yankees here at Rogers Center. Cecil ahead 1-2. Curveball, he wouldn't chase.
That's where he wanted to throw that pitch to Alex Rodriguez. Alex almost made him pay, lining that ball to Valencia and left. But now you get to 2-2. Go ahead and be aggressive. Be aggressive in the strike zone. Whether he comes back with the curveball or goes fastball, you're not trying to bounce anything right now. Go ahead, pitch to contact.
He went around. Curveball does the trick. Strikeout for Cecil. That's the first strikeout for the Blue Jays tonight.
Well, it was the curveball. This is Brett Cecil's best pitch. It's like a knuckle curve. He'll hold that one finger up top. You see the spin of that baseball. Chris Young unable to hold up that swing.
Stephen Drew was the scheduled batter. Gregorio Petit, an infielder, has come to the plate. He will pinch hit for Stephen Drew with 2 outs here in the ninth. Goes after the first pitch. Jonathan Diaz throws him out. Ball game. Cecil picks up the save, his second. R.A. Dickey gets his first win of the season and improves to 4-0 against the Yankees here at Rogers Center.
Oh, what a big win for the Blue Jays, coming off a very rough road trip, a 3-7 road trip with a disheartening loss in Cleveland yesterday. And what a way to do it, R.A., with another tremendous effort against the Yankees. Donaldson, Bautista, and Edwin behind the 3 runs, scored in that 8th inning, and then Russell Martin coming up big off the bench.
Good effort all around, timely hitting, some great defense, and an outstanding effort from the mound. A reminder, coming up next, it's Sportsnet Central. Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak on now. On to CBC, Rangers and Capitals. They just started the 3rd period. Series is tied at 1-1. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak.